All right, that's fine. All right, let me load up.
Hold on. Cheers. Clink the bottles. That's a healthy pour.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers, motherfucker.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, this guy.
Cheers.
Mutant City Horror, episode 3. Can it be? Holy shit, it's been a month already, Matt. Can you believe that shit?
Yeah, just about.
And then I fucking go and let your punk ass make the choice on what we're going to drink for our Thanksgiving special. And why would I expect anything other than fucking wild turkey?
I mean, you know me fairly well, of course. And you know the funny part about that is I haven't had wild turkey in a long time.
You know when the last time I had wild turkey was?
When's that?
Probably sometime with you. You're the only person I drink this with.
Cheers to that.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I agree. It's not for everyone. But you know, given the holiday season, the Thanksgiving holiday season, you know, thinking turkeys and cozy weather and stuff, why not have a liquid turkey with the little bit of the warming you up, going down, I guess you could say. You know,
I think the only thing that's saving me at this point is I got the American honey, which is what I think you got too.
Yes, sir.
But like, here is so I just opened this bottle like an hour and 24 minutes ago, and I know that time because that's when we started the movie.
I think we're about in the same zone too. If you look at it, just about. I might have a little bit more.
Mine is at the turkey neck level.
Yeah, right underneath the gobbler.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I mean, that's what they do. Did I get that right? Is it chicken? No, I think it's
chicken.
I mean, and I got chickens. You would think I'd know the difference, but I assume it's the gobbler. Yeah, I can just say the nut sack under the beak.
Ball. It's more like a ball. Yeah, the ball sack.
Yeah.
All right, dude. You're gonna have to carry the weight in this one because you've seen this movie. I haven't. This was my first time watching this movie. And fuck, man. You know, I couldn't help but think about something that you said in the last episode about what we're doing here. And I kind of started feeling this way when I watched the trailer. And then like when the movie started, I was like, yeah, it totally makes sense what he said, which was I made some comment about like watching these movies, and you were like, yeah, man, that's why we're here. We're going to watch these movies so you guys don't have to. And I remember hearing that and thinking, well, you know, like I'd like to think that what we're doing here is making people inspired to go and watch these films for themselves, kind of make their own opinions. I had some reservations about our rating system as well, because I don't know, I never listened to critics, and so why would anybody listen to me? Like, who the fuck am I, you know?
Right.
So I'm hoping people are like hearing this shit and then they're going and watching these movies for themselves. And what a good way to start with Pumpkinhead, right? That's a great movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then we watched this one and I was like, yeah, what he said makes total sense. This is by far like a task that I am taking on for other people to not have to watch this movie, because God damn.
No, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, whoever's listening to this, I want you to know very thoroughly, we are definitely taking one for the team, bringing you a shit show essentially, of things that you probably diverted for very good reasons, and we're just bringing things into light that haven't really been brought up too much, and things that people uh if you're a movie fan should experience. If you're a B-rated horror fan, this is definitely something for you.
Should you
um
though?
I, I don't know. It's this one's special. I will go ahead and say that the movie's very special. Did we already announce the title of the film?
No, I was just gonna segue into that. If you want to tell the kids at home what we had the privilege of just watching.
Sure, why not? Okay, so all right. Again, we took one for the team on this one. This is it's got its cult following. I don't I don't exactly know why. It is by far
Oh, hold on.
probably
Let's just stop for a second. Sorry.
okay.
I think
Go
what
for it.
we should do is let the people know what movie we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
Um,
we watched 1989's Things.
things.
Written, directed, produced, second unit produced, musical score. A lot of most of everything was done by the director, who is Andrew Jordan, and his homeboy Barry Gillis, or Barry J. Gillis, who also plays the main character. What's his name? Don? Doug? Don.
Don.
Yeah,
Don. Yeah,
Don.
he's the one with the
Doug's brother, Don.
with the pedo mustache.
Ah,
Pedo
man,
mustache Don.
that dude reminds me of somebody that we used to know, and for the sake of uh,
The sake
not
of
being an
identity.
for the sake of not being an asshole, maybe I'll text you or something. I don't know. I'll tell you who I think it was, because it's like a 0.0001% chance that that dude is gonna find this podcast. But never say never. So
Yeah, I hear you there.
okay, so 1989, this movie called Things. What is this movie even about?
Um, that's a
Well,
very good
I
question.
ask because there is a synopsis. If you look on IMDb or you Google it or whatever,
Right.
um, you can read what the synopsis is of the movie. But like, it's a stretch, because I think what they talk about in the synopsis is like maybe the foundation for what happens in the movie. But I mean, this movie's so fucking all over the place. Like, I found myself halfway through it, like, what is this movie about again? Oh yeah, and it was weird for me because I couldn't remember if I only knew what was happening because of the synopsis. Like I knew what. Let me rephrase. I knew what this movie was about because of what was written about it online. But if you're watching the movie, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" It goes in so many different directions, and it's just like all the randomness. I don't know.
I, I,
Again, I'll let you kind of provide an oversight, because you're more familiar with it than I am. This was my first time, as opposed to you having.
I actually only watched it once before, and that wasn't too long ago. The weird part was I had heard about this on multiple occasions, and I seen it from like people that were putting. They had companies that were putting these movies onto like DVDs and stuff like that. And I remember seeing the actual cover art multiple times. I've heard it referenced multiple times, and still, even now, yeah, even this being the second time I had seen this film, I I really don't think I understood what the hype was about. though it does actually stand out from a lot of horror films that I've seen. I'm getting the idea that it's got a lot of originality in a way, but I don't know if it was delivered very well. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but
Nothing about
uh,
this movie makes sense.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. This is a movie you don't make sense of. It's simply there for your entertainment. Whether it's you or if it's not for you. Whatever the case may be. I think it deserves a watch from people just to get an idea of where people stand with making these kind of films and stuff. The people that actually took the time to watch these and stuff. That's what they do them for. And you
I
actually.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm going to disagree with you there. I think this was more uh, like, hey, I'm bored. I've got some cash. Like, what can we do? I don't think somebody sat down and was like, you know what? I want to make a people like for the movie or a movie. People fucking drunk, dude.
Yeah, it's already kicking in.
I want to make a movie for the people, by the people, and like this is what we're gonna put out. Because if that was the intent, garbage. Like, no.
No, no, I'm not
I,
gonna
I
go. I'm not gonna go as far as to say that this was an art piece waiting to happen. I don't think that at all. I don't think that was the intention. I'm sorry I cut you off. Go on.
no, it's okay. No, all I was gonna say was I think it was just one of those things. Like when you and I were fucking 19 and 20 and we're like, dude, we should fucking make a movie and this is what we could do it about. And then, hey, I got a couple bucks. Like, let's put this together real quick. And I mean, dude, I was reading some of the shit about this movie, the production of this movie. Most of the actors who showed up to shoot didn't even know what they were doing until the camera fucking started rolling.
I was gonna bring that up. That's one of the things I did want to bring up about this film, and I'm kind of glad I caught it a second time because I was kind of looking at it from a different angle, knowing kind of what to expect. But I was thinking about a scene in particular. It was a monologue. It was that guy Don. His little monologue about this little story he had to tell about the kid and stuff. You remember all that? Something
Um,
about his guts. And I don't know. It went all kinds of directions. It's not very far fetched considering the movie it came from.
I think I made a note because that was the same scene where the Kanye song was on, right? Like I paused it. Remember, I paused it and I was like, "Hey, the music that's playing in this sounds like the song "Runaway" from Kanye's album, "My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy." Like it had the same like one piano note kind of after the other, and and then remember we restarted and I was like, "Hey, I want to hear the entire story that this dude is telling," right? And so he was talking about the sci-fi book that he read, and I don't know, something about this monster that like started eating torsos of
Yeah,
people in Scotland.
yeah. The story went all kinds of places. I think that's what I was trying to get at. It's kind of, I don't know if it was intentional or what. Like it's kind of a reference to the movie in itself because I was thinking at that moment when he's telling this, I was like, for one thing, I'm gonna go ahead and say that none of that shit was scripted. I don't believe anything there that he had to say. I don't even know if this movie even had a script, but especially that moment, I feel like he was just kind of going on some random tangent. The director, the writer was like, "Hey, I just need you to tell a story. I don't even know what that story is. Just tell it." And he's just going off the top of the dome, and I think that's kind of a reflection of this movie in general. I feel like the entire movie may have had very little to no script. I think it was mostly just improv. I I mean that's my assumption. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I
that's
don't
what I
know. I dare anybody to watch this movie and not agree with you.
and dude, and honestly, like if you guys don't want to watch the movie, well, we're happy to take one for you. By the way, there will be spoilers, just so you know. We like to let people know because it's
I
such a
don't
new
know. That's
movie,
funny to
right?
me, dude. Because usually you reserve spoiler alerts for shit that people want to see or even have an interest in looking at.
Right, but I figure you know what, you might as well throw that in there.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, things, things. What an interesting movie. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's an
Again,
interesting.
is it though? Is it?
Well, you got to look at it from a perspective of like, okay, I don't think this is one of those things. I get what you're saying. Like, this wasn't just like, hey, this is for the people, we the people, kind of thing and stuff. I believe it was just kind of like, let's just make a movie and see where it goes.
Which I can resonate. I can resi I can resonate. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
understand where that approach is, right? Because sometimes you put a lot of thought and idea into something, and you're like, we're probably burning more cycles, wasting more time, energy, and money just trying to figure out how to make the shit work. We should just do it. And I think a very good example of that is this fucking podcast. Because I don't know, how long did we spend this week trying to figure out the remote thing, the video thing? Like, I even apologized to you the other day because I was too wrapped up in trying to like make the lighting work and the video work, and I'm not even 100% certain that when we post this online that there won't be a discrepancy between like my voice and the moving of my lips and what you see on the video, because it seems to be a little bit choppy. But that's the point of the podcast, right? We said we were gonna just do what we do, which is watch movies, get drunk, and just talk about it. And so when we try to figure out the equipment and the lighting and the logistics, like, we get too wrapped up in the minutia, and we forget that, like, let's just do it and see what happens, and who cares? We'll learn for the next time. And so I can kind of see where you're coming from with like, hey, like, I want to make a movie, and we've got some people, we've got some money, like, let's just go do it and see what happens from there. So
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Everything within this production actually seemed that way as well. There's so much. Well, there's so much I don't know about this film, let alone like the making of or anything of that. I will say that a lot of times I'm going by hearsay, but I have heard a few things here and there. For one example, I do believe that the actors, or the filmmakers themselves haven't really done much either throughout the years. From what I know, I don't think the actors ever went anywhere. I don't think the writer, director, uh, did really much after it, or not. What I'm hearing is very little, if anything.
Is
But
that is that does that surprise you though?
no, no, absolutely not. I'm sure this was either, you know, like like an Easter egg waiting to happen, or a bombshell when it came to like, hey, I'm gonna show my resume to this studio and see what they think of my film. Probably got shut down very fast. I don't know. That would be my guess. So, what what is the movie about? About that.
Well, hold on. Let's start with the official kind of synopsis, or I don't even know. I don't know what the. I'll just tell you what it says on IMDb.
Okay.
An impotent husband, driven by a fanatical desire to father children, forces his wife to undergo a dangerous experiment. The result? The birth of a multitude of monstrous things. Which I have to say, aside from like two lines in the movie where the husband is like, "Hey, I made my wife undergo this experiment, and now all these monsters are being born." There's really like zero indication that this is the plot of the movie.
Yeah, I agree with you there. When it comes to descriptions and like information, trying to tell what this movie's about, I believe they kind of upscale it a little bit to make it more understandable. But
Okay.
if that makes sense, they try to
Uh,
clarify for people, but in a
putting
way,
lipstick, putting lipstick on a pig. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah, sure, why not?
Shining shit.
Yeah.
I get you.
Um, I don't even know if they knew the direction they were going with this film. Like as far as the descriptions go, yeah, I think it's just kind of a shot in the dark. Like they needed, we need some kind of plot element for this now. What can you conjure up? Here, this is what I gathered from it. You
Make sure
know,
to stick your tongue out though, because it's more realistic when you stick your tongue out. There's so many
acting.
scenes where that happen, and I can just imagine the director be like, "Hold on, no, 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 but do it again, but stick your tongue out." And be like, "Ah, so dumb."
I'm gonna say this. I think, given how badly made this film is, and I mean no disregard to anyone who put this together, and gave us this kind of gem. I would say, in a way,
Hey,
what.
there's at least two people talking about this movie.
Well, there you go.
uh,
There you go. Yeah.
20 something years later.
Correct, and I think, actually this is one of those movies that kind of got recognized that way as well. I think it was absolutely nothing. Maybe people didn't even know how to get a hold of this film. In fact, what I had heard before it was even distributed digitally, that this film was not, you couldn't find it unless you actually got the VHS,
Mm.
which kind of shows its standing. I mean, the movie does in itself look like somebody just took like your basic handheld camera that you would use for your 6-year-old's birthday or something like that, like big boxy thing with a freaking, like, I don't know if it was Betamax or VHS, whatever the case may be, some big bulky thing that um definitely not not a big budget, obviously, because
Well, it's funny because I correct voice. I think I read somewhere that the filmmakers were kind of like bragging that the movie cost like somewhere to like high, like mid to high 300,000 to make.
where
Which
did it all go?
hold on. First of
I'm sorry.
all, it's Canadian dollars, so they spent Canada bucks. So I don't know the conversion rate because uh, I think the official story is that it costs more like 30,000. So maybe it's 345 Canadian bucks equals like 30,000 real dollars. But either way, I think they were just kind of like trying to be like, oh yeah, this is a high budget film, which if you watch it, like everyone's in jeans and a t-shirt and it's not high budget at all. So the 30,000 sounds a little bit more realistic. But
Yeah, it
I
does.
also think back to like, wasn't the original Halloween shot for like $30,000?
I want to
And
say yes, it was in that ballpark. uh yeah, it
which,
was somewhere in that ballpark for
which
sure.
I mean, we're comparing apples to oranges, right? Because if you look at the quality of filmmakers, um, if you look at the quality of the film between this one and Halloween, like totally day and night. But it's just it's funny to see how like two people can take the same amount of money and produce two entirely different pieces of work.
I
So no, I don't think it had a budget at all.
no, absolutely not. No, this was oh, God, this was like the gatherings of an ice cream man or something in like fucking 2 years or something. So much to say about it. Jesus Christ. This thing.
IMDb to the rescue. Oh no, dude. Oh no, that's gross. So okay, so damn, IMDb says that the budget for Halloween was 325,000. So I am completely talking out of my ass because
So I
Halloween
was wrong
had
too because I said the same fucking ballpark. That ain't
10
no fucking
times
ballpark.
10 times.
Where did
It's
that
not even
come
the same.
from?
It's not even the
Where did
same
that come from?
sport. It's not even the same sport.
Not even the same thing. Not even the same fucking sport.
I don't remember. Where's it from?
Oh, come on. Shut up. I know you're fucking with me now.
No, I'm being serious.
It's from Pulp Fiction, you guys.
Oh,
So, Pulp Fiction
fuck
humor for you.
me, dude. Yeah.
God, Uma Thurman is a little.
Dude,
When you little
I'm gonna
scabs get together, you're worse than a sewing circle.
yeah. Okay, so allegedly, this guy Doug is an impotent husband, who's trying to have a kid with his wife. And I think it starts. You might want to bring that up a little bit on camera. That looked kind of gross.
Oh, I got it. Oh man, that was a hard one to get out.
Gross.
Sorry, I had to get ice, ladies and gentlemen.
So Doug is impotent and wants to have a baby with his wife Susan. And the movie starts with him sleeping, dreaming of some girl in like a devil's mask, which is
I sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be her. I didn't really get that whole.
Well, it's hard to tell because they don't really show Susan all that much. I think there was maybe 2 scenes with her,
right?
And when they do show her, she's kind of like covered up, and it's more of a close up of her, kind of like
blonde,
head to like,
you know.
Yeah, the dude's dreaming that like he's gonna have. He's telling this woman in the devil mask, like, "I want you to have my baby." And I think he said it like a couple times, and she was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not gonna have your baby because I already had your baby." And then she just like turned and pulled a baby like car seat out of like a locker that had a blanket in it, and I was like,
"Was it a car seat or was it a bassinet or was it both?"
Tomato. You know what I mean? I guess I'm so antiquated with.
Well, I don't see those as the time because nowadays we got the ones that clip together and shit.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that, which is that it's kind of one and the same. They look the same. Okay.
I'm not sure,
but I forget that this is 20 years ago.
Right, whatever. Exactly.
So, either way, that's what it looked like, and so I was like, "Oh,
creepy scene nonetheless." Like it just it didn't factor in.
Nice of the naked devil lady to like be considerate enough to put the baby that they already had somehow in like a bassinet type carrier. But he wakes up, he's like freaked out, and then he goes to check on his wife, Susan. That's one of the first scenes that we see with her in it. And he gives her like some pills. Apparently she's sick, or I don't know, maybe they're pills to help her get pregnant.
My take, I was gonna say my take with that was it probably had something to do with the experimentation or the surgery she had succumbed.
But that doesn't come until later, though. That, you know what I mean? I guess you'd have to like think about that and kind of tie it back to, oh, okay, because fast forward, well, it's weird because it goes from that scene where like they're setting up the movie where like, okay, the dude's dreaming, he wants to have a baby. I took it as like making a deal with the devil. Like I'm willing to like sell my soul or do anything in order for my wife and I to have a child. So the
I think you're thinking too deep.
Well, I thought about it for like 2 seconds and then I moved on. But then it cuts to like I'm thinking of like House of a Thousand Corpses, right? Remember Dr. Satan, who was
I love Dr. Satan, by the way.
Dr. Satan. um, who was like experimenting on people and trying to make like super soldiers and like super people. And but it cuts to this scene of this dude who I don't even think is the same doctor who comes in the end,
Yeah, I
who's
was
just like,
sketchy about that as well. He didn't.
it's just like some random house where this dude's like playing with like skeleton people and like experimenting on people and pulling eyeballs out. And I was like, okay, like this is going to be relevant somehow. And then it cuts back to Doug's house. Doug is the impotent guy, and his brother,
Don,
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 Don Mega,
and
shows up
Fred.
with fucking Fred. Go find him, Fred. And then they just like get into some whole other random shit, and they're just like drinking beers, chilling.
Oh, let's rewind that just a little bit. I do want to talk about one thing. Like we already know that the editing in this film was also very bad. Like obvious. Oh God. All right, filmmakers who made this movie, please don't hold it against me. But I swear to God, I seem to think, or I seem to think that like maybe you had no practice on the editing bit before you started to make this movie. But I wanted to go back to when they got dropped off first at Doug's house. Well, apparently happens to be in the middle of nowhere, right? One long, lonely road. Some dude dropped him off in a car that can barely seat probably like 3 or 4 people and shit. Small car. We don't even know anything about the driver. We don't know why he's there. I don't even
I know
know
he's
if
a
it's
badass
relevant.
because he can reverse like no other.
That's what I was gonna get at. It's
Oh,
like
my
that
bad.
bad cut. No. It went right into it because that bad cut is what I was thinking of was all right. No, normally you cut it like they get out of the car and then cut it. But why did we need the extra? I don't know, 0.2.5 seconds or whatever of him. First of all, not only leaving but reversing away on a one-way road. You could have just easily just taken off forward, but you decided to reverse back. Like I guess I didn't understand that, but it made for good laughs. I'd say. I mean, for me as well. Like for me. Sorry, been
Of
drinking.
all the scenes in that movie where you choose to be particular in that way, that's the scene.
That's just
Because
no. That's the start of it.
oh, okay,
That's
that
where
makes
it
more sense.
started.
That makes
Yeah.
more sense.
Oh no, absolutely. I have so much picking apart about this movie that I want to do here tonight. So, like,
So okay, so Don and Go Find Him Fred get dropped off, and the dude fucking Fast and Furious is his way out of there in that car.
in
The scene
reverse.
you just talked about, and these two dudes go in the house. If that's where we find out that Don is brothers with Doug. For those, okay, so Don in the movie is that guy this way.
Yes, the
Yeah.
guy that's on the artwork.
He's like the main character of the movie.
the pedo stash.
Is that what that's called?
I don't. I mean that looks like somebody that would have wound up in Chris Hansen's little trap. Like if you were to ask me and stuff, he does. He's very very much like.
I can't tell if he's like 16 or 40. Like
right. That's exactly it. And you know what? Fuck yeah, Don. Get it.
Okay,
whatever.
so that's where they walk in. So Don and Go Find Him Fred walk into the house, and Fred's like, "What's up with some beers?" And Don's like, "Hey, it's my brother's house. Just take whatever you want. He don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
Right?
Fuck him."
I'm gonna go right into his fridge, and not to mention,
oh my
I'm
god,
gonna go right into his fridge and grab a couple beers. But for some reason, there's a book in there.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because I almost forgot to bring that up, and I had made some notes about that. So I'm watching this movie and they go into the fridge or the freezer. You can't really tell because it's just like
it's the fridge.
I think it's one. Well, I don't know. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one of the.
Yeah, it wasn't a 2-door thing. It was like
no, it was a single door unit, and it opened up, and I think it was one of those old school ones where like the freezer and the fridge are in the right places, but it's all just kind of controlled by one door. It's not separated like what we're typically used to, or like having the two doors or whatever. But I think that's enough time I want to
Yeah, dude,
spend
I haven't
talking
seen a
about
fridge
fridges.
like that in like freaking, dude, I shit you not, almost like freaking 30 years. That was definitely
Mutant City Horror, episode 4, fridges and freezers.
got it, man.
Anyways, so they go into there and they pull out what looks like a book, and I tried to. I have this thing about me where, like, I don't know, maybe you can relate, maybe not. When I'm watching TV shows or movies or things that are really capturing my interest, especially with like TV series, um, I pay attention to the books or the shows or the things that they're watching in the background just to see if like those are real things, right? So I saw them pull this book out of the freezer and I was like, oh, I should try to write that down, but it moved too fast. And I didn't want to, maybe I can go back and look it up. But it turns out it's not a book, right? It's a one of those old school like um tape recorders that was like playing some weird shit, like some weird like with like devil like horror horror sounds and speak in the back, and like it's just this weird like creepy thing. And I made a note because they called it out and they were saying that the recording was it was Aleister Crowley talking about, or some like just making some weird noises in the background. And I don't know, the name sounded familiar, like it just kind of like turned a light bulb on for me.
Sounded like they were talking about like some kind of notorious serial killer or something like that. That's what I gathered from it. But yeah, I don't know if that was like a real person or not.
Well, I pulled up the Wikipedia, so take it for what it's worth, on Aleister Crowley, and it says Aleister Crowley was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. I don't know if that just means he lived in the woods. He
Yeah, I
founded
thought it was. Yeah,
he
okay.
founded the religion of Thelema, Thelema, identifying himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the eon of Horus, Horus, in the early 20th century. A prolific writer, he published widely over the course of his life. And then it's like a whole onslaught of information. But like that like piqued my interest because I thought it was I thought it was too much of a coincidence to use the Aleister Crowley name to just be some random name.
Right.
So I made a note and I'm going to look into this a little bit more. But in just to kind of branch off in that same vein of like, hey, they're talking about something, they're watching something in the background. There's a scene where they're in Doug's house, like drinking. What's this fucker's name? Don and Go Find Him Fred are just like, hey, look, what's on TV? And Don's like, bro, this dude on this TV gets like the Bestiality Network. I was like, what the fuck?
I guess that was a thing back in '89. Go figure. No, and let me revert back.
Hold on, wait. I don't want to end there because that's not the thing that I was bringing up. I just wanted to mention that as like a kind of a funny thing that I made note of, because like, I mean, bestiality is a thing, but like a whole fucking network dedicated to that shit. That is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
weird.
Obviously,
but
obviously that was a little bit of a stretch. I don't know if. That's the thing.
Hey, cultural differences, man. I mean, this shit it's all Canadian based, so like, I don't know what they do in Canada.
That does play into it a little bit, but I think, and I don't want to even give him this much credit, but I think that was probably a character tactic for Don to just kind of show what kind of person he was. But something tells me they didn't look that deep into writing this film. Like they didn't, like, let's give this guy some character traits.
Maybe
this guy looks like the guy that watches bestiality porn, so let's make sure that he mentions it somewhere in this film.
And maybe they just had a different definition in '89.
Like, hey, don't forget to throw that porn segment in here just to make sure we got it down, because it's part of your character. You're filling in with that pedo mustache. You got it, Don. You got it.
Speaking of porn, I think it's worth mentioning that there is a reporter in this movie in which like there's a couple
Hmm.
scenes where they shift back to the reporter.
Right. I actually want to talk about that a little bit, but
Okay,
go
well
on.
then I won't go there because
Well, no,
she's
no,
a
no.
real life porn star. And, well, I
Yes,
don't want to like
Amber Lynn. Amber
yeah.
Lynn.
Let me finish what I was saying here.
Okay, my bad.
So the book thing with Aleister Crowley, then they're watching a show or a movie, and Dawn was like, "Oh, I've seen this. That guy was in another movie with Bruce Lee," and I was like, "What the fuck are they watching?" And
I remember you taking notes on that part too. I knew you were going to dig into that one.
there was fuck. I thought I had made a note about what the name of that movie was because I looked it up. Oh, that was a different movie. No, I'm sorry, but nonetheless, so there was a mention of that movie, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I can try to find it, try to look that one up. But then, cut to later, they were also watching another movie called the Groundhog's Day Massacre, and I was like, is that really a thing? And I tried looking it up, and it kind of sounds like it's a thing. There's a Groundhog's Day Massacre, directed by Harold Olminski from 1986, and it's only 50 minutes long. So I'm gonna I'm gonna use my box, that my magic box that I have that gets like everything, to see if I can look that up and see if it's a real thing. Because if that is, then perhaps episode 4, Mutant City Horror,
Uh,
Groundhog's Day Massacre. Anyways, all right. So sorry. Yeah, I I was a little intrigued by some of the call outs within the movie, with like a real movie being Groundhog's Day Massacre, a real person being Aleister Crowley. Um, I mean, I don't know how much I'm going to really look into this stuff, but it might be interesting to like take a peek, just so I can kind of figure out like maybe where the mindset of the film creators was or is, or just getting kind of an idea of like if that's the stuff that they're looking at, then maybe that's what led to the idea of this movie, or something like that. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I get it.
Over.
Okay, I want to talk about Fred. Fred being the guy that shows up with Dawn. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this on a whim. I'm going to guess that Dawn is a younger guy. I don't know. It's hard to tell, kind of like you said earlier. But seemingly, just by the way he jokes around and stuff like that, he seems kind of be like a younger cat. So I'll give that to him. But um, the friend, Fred, seems like kind of like a middle-aged dude with like nothing else to do. So he found whatever friends he can. Just so happens to be Doug and Don. Um,
Well, not to skip ahead, but just to provide some context, Doug, the impotent, talks about putting his wife through an experiment that was provided by Dr. Lucas. And so when the wife died and they're trying to figure out what to do with the body, they were like, oh, well, forgot to mention, but the phone doesn't work. And like, maybe we could take the body to Dr. Lucas, but that's like a 9-mile hike. So they give the impression that like there's nothing around any of these people. They live in the fucking sticks or in the woods. So maybe it's just like the Fred is like some guy who just happens to kind of live in the area, and there's really slim pickings as it relates to like friends, you know?
yeah, okay. I think I can agree with that to a certain extent, being that maybe it's just a small town, maybe largely divided, but a small town, which also kind of brings the question too. If you do live
Well,
out in the middle of nowhere, why don't you have a car? Why do you have to walk to the nearest, you know,
well,
townsfolk or
where else is there to go? I live in the
I
middle. Hey, here's the thing. Like, I didn't get the impression that they live in a town, especially in the end where Don runs out of the house and through the woods, and it's like there was nothing around for him to like go to. It wasn't until he came across some bridge where some dude was walking on that helped him get back to
Yeah.
the house. Like that's a whole nother thing.
No, I get it. I get it. It's
But
very
yeah,
isolated, and that was their dilemma in the first place, right? It was isolated and whatnot. That actually kind of corresponds with another question of mine, being the fact that this is a Canadian-made film. I don't know if whoever was responsible for the geography of the United States was accurate or not, but that was that was one of my big questions is did they have they ever been to the United States? Because there was mention of something about Texas and then something about Sacramento and Los Angeles, and
I
these
think New
are,
Jersey was in there too.
yeah, these are places that are nowhere near each other. So I don't really know where they got that from. I guess I didn't really like, dig too deep. This doesn't seem like the kind of movie that was put together with any kind of realism. You know,
Or logic or
right,
thought or yeah, I get you.
or
Uh-huh.
heart.
Yeah. No, I don't know. There's a little bit of heart in it. You can see that in like
Uh,
the way that some of the people were acting, but yeah, it lacked everything else.
I agree with you there, and I know exactly what you're talking about and stuff. There was kind of like that. That type of acting that you would get for a person who's trying to overact. Fred. So Fred's there with Dawn. They're having some beers. Fred asks if he can get some beers too and stuff. But this is Doug's house. They just come wandering in. They're like, hey, let's just I understand Don's blood related and stuff. Now they're just like, hey, let's just keep taking his beer and stuff. He's in the other room taking care of what he needs to take care of. Let's just polish off his beer. Why not? Let's find a book in the fridge, as we mentioned earlier. And and don't forget, let me just take off my jacket. And you know what? I'm going to put it in the freezer because that's a very logical place to put a jacket. Now, I think I get it to certain extents. If it's humid outside and stuff like that, you're wearing a jacket. Maybe you got a little hot. Let me throw it in the freezer, but don't expect that the audience is going to know what the hell you're trying to do there and stuff. Or is it just you like, I need to get rid of this prop, so let me just throw it in the most convenient spot located, which happens to be the
No,
freezer right in
no.
front of me.
Oh, the jacket. Sorry, I was still hung up on the tape with the Aleister Crowley thing.
That was not, yeah, but that's
No, I don't think so. Because if you look at the rest of everything else, it was all just like, yeah, I'll just put it down here, or it's just magically here, and I'll pick it up. So I think when you see Don, fuck, what the hell's his name? Don actively take off his jacket and intentfully put it in the freezer. I think that was an intended action, if you will. Which again,
maybe it's a Canadian thing.
I was just gonna say maybe it's a Canadian thing. Like they love their cold, so like maybe it wasn't cold enough for him. So I mean, it's not too dissimilar from what some people do here, which
Yeah,
is like,
exactly. Why
hey,
not?
it's so cold.
This could have been in Texas. It could have been in Jersey. It could have been Sacramento or Los Angeles. Who knows?
No, it was Canada. No, but the point that I was trying to make was, how many times have you heard about somebody putting their um, bath towel in like the dryer before they take a shower, or they even make these heaters that you can put by your shower where you can like put your towel in, like it's almost like a toaster for your towel, so when you come out of the shower you can get like a fresh, hot, warm towel to put around you. So my thought was, well, we do stupid shit like that here because we're too cold, and so maybe they do stupid shit like that over there where it's not cold enough and they just put their jacket in the freezer.
I mean, maybe you're right, dude. Maybe it's just something that we as United States citizens just don't understand and stuff. Everyone's got their customs. Who knows?
Sure,
It could be a perfectly normal thing. You might be absolutely right about that.
So just kind of painting the picture, if you will. So again, we talked about Doug is the impotent. It has this weird sex dream with a devil woman,
Was it
which is
really
like,
him with impotency though? Like that's what the story entails. But I did. There was no real.
well, it's either him. So the plot in IMDb says that he's impotent. So I don't know who comes up with that other than the people who actually made the fucking movie,
Yeah,
or
yeah, you could be right.
it's
Or maybe
on
they were absent when they
Susan,
were
the wife.
asking them. They were like, "Well, let's make up our own excuse."
It sounds
I
right.
don't.
He looks like it. This is a guy who looks like his dick don't work. Or maybe it was the
I'm kind of
wife.
opposite about that. I feel like that. I mean, he's the kind of guy that looks kind of like a pervert to me. Like almost like the guy that would have like a dungeon in his,
Oh.
backyard or something.
Well, then the alternative is that, which correlates with the scene that we saw, which is the wife is incapable of having children, and he's giving her medications to help kind of move that along.
Yeah.
Regardless,
Either way, they want a child.
they want a child. I interpreted it as he's making a deal with the devil to have a baby. Then we cut to he wakes up, he's freaking out, and chucks on his wife, gives her the medication. Then we cut to the scene where the OG Dr. Satan is like operating on some people and pulling eyeballs out. Then we cut to the scene where Dawn and Find'em Fred get dropped off at the house. They're drinking dude's beer. They're finding the devil worshipping tape in the fridge. They're watching the movie with the guy from the other Bruce Lee movie. And then
some porn. Then, like, it sounded like some porn in the background, maybe.
Yeah,
like,
they're just going through some random shit. But then, like,
but you know,
Doug comes out.
The devil thing, I did want to bring that up though. You made me realize something that I didn't pick up in both times I watched it and stuff. Making a deal with the devil kind of aspect, because I can't happen to disregard that talk about the painting that involved.
You want to try that sentence again?
Sorry, did that not sound right? I don't. He had a painting. He had a painting that had to do with the devil or something like that. Which
Salvador Dali. So Find'em Fred called it out. It was a Salvador Dali's Daughter of the Devil painting, and he was like, "Holy shit! This is thought to be like a lost artifact. Like, how did he get this?" And I'm like, "That's just a reprint, bro. Chill out." But
didn't he tell him it was an original though?
Whatever.
Well, it don't matter.
Maybe.
This is one of those things that you actually like you sink in everything they say kind of movie anyway, right? I don't think there's any standard to what they were saying, but yeah, you're right.
So then, like, Doug comes out after watching his wife, like, it was almost like that scene in Aliens where the xenomorph the baby xenomorph kind of pops out of Ripley. It was like that in this scene where Susan, the wife, has like this little monster thing kind of come out of it. But like that's really all to that scene. And then Doug comes out and sits at the table with Don, his brother, and go Find'em Fred, and he's just casually having beers with them. And then it isn't after a couple minutes, or it isn't until after a couple minutes where like he's like, yeah, you guys are drinking all my beers and my wife's dead, and like this other thing. And I was like, oh, whoa, pump the brakes, dude. Like, your wife died? Like, that would have been an important scene to see, or information I would have liked to have up front.
This is one of those confusing things, kind of like earlier when we were watching it and stuff, and we were like, did I miss something? We had to go back and rewatch it because it's like you did miss it, but you didn't miss it. You know what I mean? It wasn't very disclosed what was going on in that scene and stuff. And I guess the way we were supposed to interpret it was that she gave birth to these creatures and she died from it. But there was no elaboration on it whatsoever. There was no absolution. We were kind of left in the let's just kind of go with the fact maybe she did, and then it wasn't even confirmed until he had brought it up, right? It was kind of like one of those, like, but she died. It's the kind of thing that like you suddenly bring up all of a sudden. You're like, well, we didn't really know because you didn't really show us. We we know that she was in pain and that she was dying because she said she was dying. But that's kind of another thing. Like, was she really dying? Because the way she said it was like, it's nothing. This happens to me all the time and stuff, right? I mean, I guess that kind of, in a nutshell, describes all their acting in the first place. Anything critical that may have happened, like somebody losing their life, a loved one losing their life, seems to be kind of pushed on the back burner a little bit. Like, eh, let's just
Oh, are you talking about Pumpkinhead? Because we had mentioned that like Ed Hardy or Hardly Ed Hardly Ed Hardly Hardy. Hmm. Lance Hendrickson's character in Pumpkinhead, Ed Hardly, we had talked about like his wife dying or being, or no, not his wife, I'm sorry, his son, because his wife was already dead. So it was just him and his son. So his son, who is like his family, his life, died. And he's like, my son died. And I'm going to go get revenge on it. So it was like, is that what you're saying? Where like there's this common theme, at least in the last two movies that we've seen, where like a significant person in your family, in your direct family, died, and in both cases it was just like, oh yeah, they're dead, but I'm gonna move on to this other thing.
I want to say yes, just to be partial to what it is what you're saying, but no, absolutely not in any way possible. Like, okay, when in Pumpkinhead, when Ed's son was murdered, um, you knew it, you felt it, even though yes, it wasn't to the degree of realism that we could probably post today, like content wise and stuff like that. Like, we
Okay.
don't, we, we didn't try too hard, I think, in older films. I know what? I'm a bastard for saying that. But you know what? There are movies that really emphasize, even older movies that really emphasize the feel of emotion and stuff like that. Even in the black and white times, even like you actually felt those. Whereas like a Pumpkinhead, you actually felt that, that hatred and stuff when he looked at the guy. Remember, he gave that death stare. That
That's
death
true.
stare was believable. But where you're going with this, I totally agree. It's kind of like, fuck,
If he
my
didn't say
wife
it,
just died. Hey, can you grab me a beer?
if he didn't say the
you
words,
know?
my wife is dead, I wouldn't have known that the wife died.
They didn't emphasize, and it was like that scene that we'll talk about later on. But yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't. I don't think delivery was. I guess we were just supposed to assume that she was just like, like, give me my soup. And then suddenly she starts bleeding from the vag, which we already know is a
Is that what that
normal
was?
thing.
I just, well, I
That,
guess because
I,
the way I saw it, again, go back to my earlier reference to Aliens, which was the xenomorph coming out of Ripley. In this one, I just saw it as like they showed a piece of like her clothing and then some blood
it
coming up
was,
out of it, and then the creature came out of it. So
yeah, it was
I don't
her
know where it was
gown.
coming
It
from.
was
Yeah.
supposed to be right here on her gown.
Hmm.
That's what I gathered from it. I could be completely mistaken. Remember, I'm just going, but I'm some of this has got to make some kind of logical
So
sense on
she
Frank
died.
Capras.
She dies. Then Doug comes out and is chilling with his brother and finding Fred. And then like, oh yeah, you guys are drinking all my beers. Give me a beer. My wife's dead, and like, don't drink all my beers. I was like, what? Okay, got it.
Yeah,
And then like, and then it just automatically cuts to like hey, Fred's gone. He magically disappeared. This is why
Wait,
I've been referring.
wait. Pump the brakes on that because yes, it did get to that part. But that was around the same time it made that cut with Amber Lynn as the news reporter, as you had pointed out, who was looking elsewhere at her cue cards and shit.
Oh,
It was
100%.
very
IMDb confirmed it for me.
well, no, that was like, yeah, that's just logical. Just watching it, you're like, oh my god. Well, obviously, she's a porn star. She's not meant to be a Golden Globe actress or, Oscar award-winning actress.
It's
And
not
shit
even
like
that. It's not even that. It's if I'm reading the facts correctly, her scenes were added in after they shot the whole fucking movie. And they
the guy
added
who made the movie wanted her in there. Obviously, he was a fan of her porn, but that's also raising a question here. Then this is my big question here, also as well. You had the nude chick at the beginning, right? She showed her tits, she showed the bush, everything, right? You're gonna hire a porn star and have her fully clothed through the entire thing? That doesn't make sense to me.
well, it does make sense to me as it relates to the fact that I read about it, which is they shot and edited in all of Amber Lynn's scenes after the whole fucking movie was already shot for the purposes of being able to put her on the box to try to attract more people to buy the movie, rent the movie, or whatever. So it was solely a marketing scheme.
A sales pitch.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense. I thought maybe he was just a fan, but you're right. You know what? That would, they would get any one of us to buy buy a movie. You put a porn star on the front of it, fuck yeah, we're gonna watch it. I mean, fuck.
You know what's so funny is like I looked at her IMDb page to see where this slotted in her like credits,
Right.
and there's like she shot like I don't know 12 movies in '89. One of them was this one. It's like
Debbie Does Dallas.
I don't know.
Apparently, she's a well-known one. I never really watched too much of the porn back then.
I got a picture of the cover somewhere. Fuck, I had it. Oh, here it is. You can see where
Yeah,
she's like
do that.
laid out in a G and with her hair curled, kind of like a little
Right.
not spread eagle, but like
Obviously, she's not dressed like that in the film.
so
Those of you who are that
somebody looking at this box set would be like, "Oh shit, it's
fooled into it.
It's got a porn star on it. There's
Sucked
probably
to
some
it.
action in it. Let me go ahead and rent this piece." And then it's 100% opposite of what you were expecting.
Well, yes and no. In a weird way, like honestly, fuck. I hate to say it like this. It That's not gonna gear me into watching this film. You know what's gonna gear me into watching
You're
this
a
film?
fucking
Is
liar.
that image right there. No, honestly, that image right there. The guy holding the fucking drill and shit like that. To
Which,
me,
spoiler alert, that drill bit's not even that same size in the movie.
it's not even the
And he
same
doesn't even wear the
goddamn drill
jacket.
bit. It's not even the same drill bit. Yeah, I
And
know.
never once does he wear that leather jacket.
Absolutely right about that. We'll get into that as we further.
Anyways, okay,
expose this movie.
so yeah, the wife died, and then there's that the news scenes breaks that just kind of were woven into the storyline, which I mean, they really didn't start even making sense until towards the end.
I don't even think the movie made sense at all. Like
No,
even at the end. I mean, I get where they were going. I get the delivery. No. Okay, then let's go back. Okay, so Amber Lynn she's the news reporter, right? She delivers us like shitty news that we don't even has no correspondence with the movie at all. I did kind of get a little kick in the ass a little bit later about that, and I'll mention that as well. But at the same time, you're kind of sitting there wondering. Okay, first of all, you're wondering the whole subplot with the doctor and stuff like that. All right, that kind of makes sense. You kind of want to see what this
Yes.
guy's doing on the outskirts. Obviously, he's a pretty weird guy. He likes cutting people's faces off. And I might
OG
say
Dr.
this.
Satan? That's what you're talking about?
I'm yes, OG Doctor Satan. I might even say this. I'll go as far as to bring this up that probably this movie in general was probably the very first, and I'm gonna say this right now, ladies and gentlemen, the very first ASMR delivery that I've ever seen. Do you disagree with me there? The
I don't
sound effects.
disagree, but I don't understand. I because I don't understand.
Okay, the sound effects involved in this movie, some of them necessary, some of them were not. But have you noticed that the ones that really didn't make too much sense, they really emphasized on, okay, before ASMR was a thing, right? Before we had people on the microphone pulling Velcro or talking like this, or the things that people like they take in, they soak in, or whatever it may be and stuff. This movie had it all as far as those sound effects go, and I'm going to go back to that the doctor subplot and stuff. Like you said, he's pulling out that dude's eyeballs, and what do we hear is
All right. Then
what
no.
the fuck.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
What the fuck is going, like, okay, like if you were going for regular sound effects, you make regular sound effects, right? You actually literally had a guy with a microphone making sounds that he thought may have sounded good for that moment. But tell me that some asshole wasn't just sitting there waiting for his time, like, hey, sound effects guy, come over here. I need you to come and
I
take care of this shit.
I think what happened was, and there's a lot of speculation online in regards to what and
Hmm.
how the audio is or was handled for this thing. And I think what happened was is they went through it and shot it all with whatever included audio devices were on the camera that they shot with. I'm assuming that they shot with a video camcorder or a VHS type recorder,
Dude, I
and
don't
then they
even.
went back and recorded that shit like in a booth or something, and they tried to like overlay it on top of each other because there are a lot of scenes in that movie where you hear the overlay, and you and I were questioning, is this supposed to be an overlay where
Real
like
time audio.
the audio is supposed to sound better here, but maybe they, instead of like getting it right on top of each other, like it just kind of like was just adjusted off just a little, so you hear that echo. And then there was other ones where like, is this audio supposed to be in this scene? Because this was audio from like a scene 20, 30 minutes ago. And
Oh,
is it,
dude, it
so
did
is it
do
that
that.
thing where like,
It did do that.
is it supposed to be like I'm recalling as a character what happened earlier? I think the one in particular that sticks out to me the most is um, when they're sitting at the table in the kitchen. Um, Finding Fred, Dawn, and Doug, and they're talking about Susan being dead, and Dawn, the brother, is like, "Well, what are we gonna do? I don't, I've never pictured myself living with a dead person," which I think he's insinuating, like, I live in this house. I don't want to live with a dead body in this house.
Does
Dr.
he live
Lucas's
there
house is
though?
9 miles away. Like, what are we gonna do with this body? So then you take that same audio, and then like towards the that which is like maybe like the first third of the movie, and then you get to like almost towards the end where Doug is like dying, and he puts Doug into the closet, and he's recalling that same audio. So again, I didn't really see how that audio fit in that scene at the moment. Or maybe now that I say it out loud, he's putting his brother Doug, who's dying, in the closet. So maybe he's recalling what he said earlier, which is, I've never imagined myself living in a house with a dead body. But then he talked about how I think he went and said like, I never pictured myself living with a dead body since I lived in New York, which was like, really? You lived in a house with a dead body before you moved to your house with your
I
brother
just
in
don't think
Canada?
that
Like,
that was written, or dare I say improv right. I think that was just, dude, you saw it for yourself. Like when we were watching this movie, there was a lot of dialogue mistakes, and you could
or
see
lack
them.
thereof, because there's that bathroom scene because the power goes out and they get the flashlight and they go to the bathroom to check it out, and like the whole scene from the kitchen to finding the flashlight to going into the bathroom and like checking it out, there was like a good, I'm maybe 9 is like an over emphasizing, but like there's at least a good 5 minutes, maybe 6, of footage where there is zero dialogue. And in a movie like this, it's hard to like introduce a scene where there's no dialogue. From what you were saying with the audio, I think it's just
The audio was up and down throughout this movie. That was one of the shit. I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs about this movie, but that was one of the bigger ups and downs as far as that goes. And I'm going to say this as we progress further, but I'm going to say this one last thing about the audio. Um, one thing I do give this movie due credit for is not the composure of the music, but I get the idea of, and the music wasn't too bad, like considering the fact there was a very lack of creation as far as putting it together right. But the music was probably my favorite aspect of the film. Moving ahead further, so as you said, Doug's wife had died. Fred was sitting there with them, and what you had said earlier, because we went through the whole Amberlynn bullshit, her part in it. Fred disappears out of the plain blue, right? Fred. After it goes from the news broadcast,
that's
goes
the scene
straight
that
to.
I've been trying to get to for a minute, which is
I know
it
that's
just
why I was
switches and
trying to
like,
get there.
hey, Fred's gone.
That was what I was going to bring up to you. You
Which
had,
is why I've been referring to him as Find Him Fred, because like,
yeah. Where the fuck was he? To the whole right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about here is towards the beginning of the film. Fred disappears, and we're like, where the fuck did Fred go? It was brought up as we were watching the film. You had talked about the what would you call it? The timing principle, like whether this person was available, whether they were not during the filming of this movie. That was a
there was
big
that
thing.
scene where Don, Doug, and Fred were eating sandwiches in the living room,
No,
and
even before that
I
though,
saw a
there
note that it took 3 days to shoot just that one scene because the availability of the actors was inconsistent.
scarce. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
well, it wasn't
scarce.
scarce. It was just that it wasn't. They all couldn't be there at the same time. So like, you see one of the actors in the scene, and then it's just like from the side or some other angle, you just see like a hand like coming up, but it doesn't show who the hand is connected to from an actor perspective. So it's trying to make it look like all three of them are in the same room at the same time, when in fact all of these scenes are shot over the course of 3 days with different actor, all a different kind of availability amongst the three actors.
From what I gathered, that there's something a little bit different with his situation though. From what
He who.
Fred, find him, Fred.
Okay.
Okay, so at some point or another, I believe Fred's appearance in the film, um, whether it was an emergency call or he had to not show up for whatever reason, they couldn't film his parts. And so I'm sorry. Their response to this was to have him just disappear off set. And they're like, "How the fuck do we do this?"
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
The equivalent of
apparently,
like killing somebody off when they're fired from a show or something.
well, not really, because he was still involved with the project. He just couldn't be there during the filming of that time. And so they were like, well, let's make him disappear
Which is,
out of
I
nowhere.
mean, I guess that's a very rookie mistake to make, I guess. Like very
Well,
kind
this
of
isn't a
indicative
Hollywood
of like
film.
what I'm talking about is like, hey, I've got all these scenes with you in them.
Right.
So if you're not going to be available for the next 2 weeks, let's shoot all of your scenes, all of the scenes where you're in them right now so that I can go back in and just add them in post or later, as opposed to saying, okay, we're going to shoot this thing from like a linear perspective, right? Like this happens and that happens and this happens. And it's like, well, if the actor who's involved in these scenes that I'm shooting in the next 2 weeks is not going to be here for 2 weeks, let me take a step back. Let me shoot all these scenes that he's involved in or she's involved in so that I have that shit in the can. And then when they're not here, I can shoot the scenes that they're not in. And then I'll just fucking come back afterwards and put it together. But I think in this case, when you're working off a fucking VHS recorder or whatever it is, and 30 grand, and kind of reminds me of Dead Set. You remember Dead Set, right?
Yeah, I remember. I remember
The
Dead. Yeah.
woman who hosted um, Big Brother on Dead Set was the actual host of Big Brother in real life, and they only had her for like a day or two. So they're like, "Hey, while you're here, we're gonna shoot every fucking single scene that we have you written into. Take advantage of the time that we have you, and then afterwards, we're gonna go ahead and shoot everything else, and we'll just." Kind of piecemeal it together after the fact.
Like, see, you and I know that already. We know what flawed Hollywood, what flawed movies
I don't
in the
know. I
first
mean,
place, and
yes,
we can
you
follow
can
a
argue
certain
that because we've
formula.
been doing this, what we're doing here and now for a very long time. But like, I don't know. I like to
Are you
think that,
still drinking?
dude,
Good. All right.
I'm good.
I just want to make sure I'm not on a higher plane than you are.
No, we're good. Yes, you're absolutely right. Like, you think about just movies in general, right? I think about when movies
Right.
first became a thing, people would go and see these motion pictures, these moving pictures, and
My
be
God, they move.
yeah.
Move.
I mean,
No, I
fuck.
know. I think
Yeah, it's
about that
great.
shit all the
I
time.
wish I truly envy that level of like surprise and awe because I'm ruined um by the fact that I know how the sausage is made, if you will, right? So
It's kind
I
of a
wa
weird way to put that, but yeah,
well, and here's the
I
thing.
get that. You
And
know.
here's the thing, right? So, again, I apologized to you earlier in the week in regards to like, hey, I'm trying to be really extra about how I have this all set up, but
Don't ever
it's
be.
all well, whatever. But now when I watch
Ladies
it,
and gentlemen, I want you to know that this guy right here, my best friend in the world, dude, my best friend in the world has watched enough movies, has seen what people react to. I've seen the films that he can do outside of what we're filming now and stuff. And the guy is a freaking genius. Anybody
all I want to
who's
know is the
listening
Coke.
to this right now, any big wigs, I want you to know right now, this guy has it down, and he's actually he's got it above and beyond for just an amateur filmmaker himself and stuff. This is a guy you need to look at for the future of filmmaking, and I mean that very much, my friend.
I appreciate
uh
the sentiment, but
your looks like your camera went out.
yeah, I'll fix it right now. Um, but the point that I was trying to make is, we are spoiled because we've seen behind the curtain. We know what it looks like. We know how it's
That,
made. And even to
that's
the
what it
point, even
means.
with doing all of this stuff right now, I found myself yesterday. Perla was watching some show on HBO Max, and I'm watching the transitions, and I see the color grading, and I am seeing the sound effects. Like not hearing the sound effects, but I'm seeing them. Right, I'm seeing somebody being dragged underwater and struggling, and this dude started stabbing another dude underwater, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly how that's made. I know exactly how that's done in post production. Now, granted, as it relates to my skill set in that field, very, very much a pebble in a fucking beach. But at the same time, like I have seen behind that curtain and I know what it looks like. So it's very easy for me to come here and say and be judgmental about the fact that, like, yeah, you totally could have just shot the scenes for the dude that you had who you had him now, but he's going to be inaccessible for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it is. Shoot the scenes. So it's easy for me to say that because I already have that like just exposure. But also at the same time, let's be realistic. There's a level of common sense there. Where we were was we were
disappearing and
yeah, we were talking about the absence of the actor in that they potentially made him just actually I wrote the quote down. Hold on one second. They came back to him uh, with the introduction of the scene where blood was dripping from the ceiling down onto Doug, and he looks over at Dawn, and Dawn is like, "Hey, I think Fred got sucked through a mouse hole, not wormhole, but
the
mouse hole.
third, fourth, and fifth dimension.
I think he went through the third, fourth, and fifth dimension through a mouse hole." And it's like, well, okay, well, I saw blood drip down on you, but I didn't see where it came from. You're not showing me the ceiling. Then you're both have your both actors have their backs to the camera and they're looking at a hole in the wall that we can't see. So I'm like, is that what you're looking at? I don't understand what's happening here. And then that's just their way of explaining how Fred just fucking disappeared.
Fred had a
for a
second
long
job,
time.
ladies and gentlemen. He had a second job. He needed to go back to it and stuff during the filming of this feature. It was not his first rodeo, let's just say. And so after that, there was Dawn's monologue improv, and I'm gonna say it was an improv, and that's what I was talking about in the first place, was that crazy story he told. And I'm not gonna get too deep into it. We are on a time progression, but like that's where I had noticed that this film was probably 100% not scripted. I mean, do you get that, or is it just me?
It wasn't just that scene. It was the whole fucking movie where I was like,
like, what the hell's going on here?
They're just winging it.
Just like you did right there, winging it. But you know what? Like, from then on, there was just no telling where this movie was going to go. From then on, it was just kind of no holds barred. What the fuck are we going to experience next? Right?
I guess it comes with the territory, right? Like I know what I'm getting myself into when I'm watching a movie of this caliber. And
at this point, yeah, exactly. Caliber? No, you said quality. It right. No, caliber, yeah, quality, yeah, might as well. I go with caliber best. Like it does kind of follow, and you're right. Like it's like what am I supposed to expect? And this movie didn't really deliver that message too much. Like it was more like, let's just see what the eye sees. Let's give you what the eye can endure, which wasn't much. I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the aspect of the creatures, right? On this movie things.
They were pretty cool. Like from a design perspective, but like,
and they were, and I'm not downplaying them at all. Yes, terrible effects, terrible ways of moving them around, and the lazy aspects where they were just sitting there, and you're like, oh my god, Like there's these things. I shit you not. That's how their acting was on this. Like there's one right over there.
Don't forget the tongue. More tongue makes it
Oh,
realistic.
dude, and then Doug's tongue.
Ah.
What the fuck is going on there? But apparently, with the creatures, I have learned this too, and I'm gonna say this is word of mouth. It's nothing set in stone, but this is what I hear. Was they didn't know what to really do with some creatures for the film. They did have an idea that it was going to be something insect like, ant like, or whatever. So they went and they bought these props of these giant ants and just kind of like integrated teeth into their mouth. I don't know even how they did it. I'm sure it was something stupid because it's on a very low budget film, but they just slapped it together. You know what I mean? They had an idea and they just slapped it together real quick. They're like, yeah, nail this shit right here. Just got it in the bag. We got our creatures right here. We got 4 giant ants with fucking metal teeth. Yeah, which we're gonna reuse over and over again because there's supposed to be more ants than that. But whatever these creatures were, they apparently looked like insects, and apparently were kind of some soulless, like soul sucker kind of being. I don't. Again, don't make relevance of it any of it. Move on to that. There's a bunch of creatures roaming the house, and for some reason, these guys are sitting around the table talking about their personal problems and whatnot and their confusions and shit. But at the same time, we're not elaborating on the creatures themselves, which I don't know. If you and I were to experience creatures just coming out of the clear blue, I'm pretty sure that's the topic of the night, right? I mean, it seems like something like we would talk about on a normal basis, given the circumstances.
Yes. I think I would be a little thrown off by the fact that there are overgrown ants with piranha teeth coming out of my toilet while I'm trying to take a piss in a house where the power is off.
That took a long time. You pointed
I
that
asked.
out. That
I had
took
to
a
ask
very
the
long
question. I had to ask the question: does the toilet still work when there's a power outage? That was a very real question of that movie.
Same thing. What? How does that have any relevance? Now, one could say that that's, well, that's how it was back then. Like, I mean, I'm sure you wrote this down. In fact, I know you wrote this down when he had mentioned something about the electricity, right? I don't know that much about electrical things.
The quote is, I don't know. Hold on. I'm not very good at electricity things. Let me say that one more time. Let me say that one more time. I am not very good at electricity things, which I thought was just perfect.
That was the exact quote on the script. If there was a script involved, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know. But yes, he did say something like that, or he did say that, in fact.
I am not good at electricity things.
I'm not good at electricity things. And this is coming from a guy who
had like 9 circuit breakers on the wall. Like, what the fuck? Okay, so going back. So the wife died. Doug is having beers with his people. Like, hey, my wife died. Give me a beer. And then there's the reporter footage. And then we cut back to, hey, somehow Fred got sucked into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th dimension through this mouse hole in my kitchen wall, which I'm not going to show it to you, but just trust me, it's there.
It is there. We don't know what happened to Fred after that moment. He just kind of disappeared and shit. Where my good friend is going with here.
Which is where Don's like, hey, I got to take a piss and the power's out. So like,
that's right.
Does the toilet work when the power's out?
And what ensues right after that is like some kind of 9-minute scene where there's no dialogue. It's just them looking around a fucking bathroom. a bathroom and a hallway, and them pulling.
Well, they have to
Was
get the
that some kind of
flashlight first.
humor, like some kind of jokes that Doug was pulling? So, well, Don had to take a piss. He's like, basically, it's like this. He's a grown man. He's like, I don't want to take a piss with these things alone.
Scared.
I'm scared. You know, come and join me. Give me some light. Give me some incentive to keep going on, because I'm thinking these ant things with big giant teeth might fucking bite my dick off or some shit. You know, the poor guy is just thinking legitimate. Though I did ask the one question that I should have asked was, why didn't he just piss outside like any normal human male figure would do in this situation?
Also,
But
the
forget
condition
all
of
that.
his house made me believe that if someone took a piss right where they were standing, I don't think anybody's going to bitch about it.
Especially in a house where apparently when the power goes out, your toilet goes out too.
And don't forget, there's the dead body in the other room.
Don't forget, there's a dead body in the other room. That's absolutely true. So he has to go take a piss. He can't do it by himself. Where's the flashlight? They get the flashlight and they go in there. And for some reason, his brother decides to scratch on the wall and stick his tongue out, as it was brought up. We don't know why he was doing that. Do you know why he was doing that, Paul?
No, other than for me to speculate that that was direction provided by the director. Like, hey, make it look like this is really happening to you, and be like,
let's liven this up a little bit. We need some comedy relief. God damn it! This is too scary for everyone. This is. No,
I honestly believe that true in their bones, they thought that, hey, if you do this, it looks realistic. Like, this is gonna be tits, dude. Just do that shit, and you're gonna be like, fuck yeah.
Think so?
You're gonna be, yeah, totally.
You think they were trying to capture? You know what? That makes a lot of sense.
100%.
That makes a lot of sense, because
I don't think here's why, because that whole tongue thing that I've been referencing happens a few times, so I don't think it's and by different people.
That's his only way of thinking that he's funny.
The only person that I thought that was being funny, if we're skipping ahead,
I don't even think anyone was funny in that.
Oh, dude, Dr. Lucas was my favorite by far, and he only has like 3 minutes in the movie at the end. But the way that he delivers his dialogue, which again leads me to believe that they shot all of this stuff with the integrated microphones on whatever cameras they were using, and then went back and re-recorded the audio and tried to overlay it on top, because this dude was just like, I think he came into it and was like, how can I sound, what can I get away with here? I'm going to make it sound, this is so ridiculous and so stupid, and I'm going to see what they keep and what they cut. And they just ended up keeping everything, because it was like, hey, this is blood and guts. And it was like, are you fucking serious? There's no way that you, as a real person, read this and be like, yeah, this is how real people talk. This is how somebody in this position who's looking at a room full of blood and guts and questioning the murdering that's happened in this room, and be like, this is how this person's going to talk. There's no fucking way. I honestly believe the dude who played Dr. Lucas came in the end and was like, I'm just going to fucking have a ball with this shit and see what I can get away with. And it was hilarious to me.
Emphasis on the aspect that I'm going to say this. Being the factors of what you know about this movie based on our podcast in general, I'm going to go and say, I do believe in some way or another this movie must have been fun to make.
Oh, I 100% agree with that shit. Absolutely. There's no way you do this and didn't. That's probably the foundation of why this movie exists. It was probably like you and I when we were 19 or 20, we were like, dude, let's, instead of just talking about it, they were like, no, we're going to be about it. And they fucking did it.
that's why I don't have any discretion on the filmmakers themselves as far as this went and stuff. And you're
I don't
right with
either,
the.
and I apologize if that seems indifferent from
No,
what my
it
attitude has
doesn't. But
been
I just wanted to be
so
clear
far.
because
But
some
like,
people don't understand that. Some people think that you're either for it or against it. You know what
dude,
I mean? I think the
they've
people
made
that
more
we would
movies than I
trigger
have,
on
so
this channel are the people that kind of know where we're coming from. You know what I mean? Like they know which direction we're coming from. Either way, they know. We watch shitty movies all the time, and you know, it's just part of the lifestyle. It's
yeah,
what you
yeah,
gather from it.
I agree. I agree.
Um, and in general, yeah, the doctor coming up at the end, like
The one
out
who
of nowhere.
experimented on the wife, Susan, whose
That's where
experiment
I
got botched, and
that's
all
where I
the
had a
things
problem with
were
with, with,
spawned.
with what you were saying and stuff. Like, yeah, you have a hard time believing this doctor, but this is the same doctor that was taking people's faces off and shit, thinking it was
Was
funny.
it though? I don't remember because I was looking for
I,
that
I'm
because
I'm I'm guessing that was a subplot that was probably had more reason that they didn't delve into. They were like, "Fuck, this movie's already an hour and a half long. We're already bored." It's just like we were with the bathroom. 9 minutes of just bathroom. Like, is there anything there?
I don't know if you can. You're probably not going to be. I don't have a cameraman, so you're not going to be. But here are some of my notes,
I
and
see it.
right about here, I
Hmm.
was like, I wrote in all caps, the
Holy
fucking
shit! You
bath,
did a full page, man. You
the
didn't even do that for
fucking,
Pumpkinhead.
the fucking bathroom scene, dude. The fucking bathroom scene, dude. Because it was like
It was
at
drawn out. It
least
was
6 minutes of just like, why am I even looking at this? For the same reason where like a lot of the scenes where they have blood on them and they're taking, dude, paper towels are like the fucking hero of this movie because that's all they're pulling from every single time. Hey, I got blood on me, paper towels.
Paper
Hey,
towels.
I need to clean this off, paper
Can,
towels.
can
Hey,
I
I need to
let you
clean
in
the
on a little
flashlight,
secret
paper
you didn't
towels.
even
Like
know
what
about
the
yet?
fuck?
Let me let you in a little secret I didn't know that if you ever knew about this. It's paper towels are funny to me. Okay, using them to dry off, I hate that sound, bro. Like it's the same thing with cardboard brushing against my skin makes a weird sound. So I'm uncomfortable with paper towels, and that's gripes me most about that shit. It's like, ugh, it's the paper towel sound. Like I don't. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things
That's weird, dude. Sorry. Sorry. That's weird.
again, one of the first ASMRs I've ever noticed was this fucking movie to be in the first place. I'm sorry. Uh,
I'm gonna pay attention to that next time you're here. I'm gonna like have some cardboard where I can just like
Fuck you guys. If you're all about paper towels, you're gonna sit there. You and Perla going, "Hey Matt,
I'm gonna do that now,
it's gonna fucking
100%,
dry."
just
Fuck
so I
you.
can see
Do
what
I give you a
happens.
problem with saying the word Mississippi? Show the audience how you say Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Oh no,
You've got the wrong state.
Massachusetts, Massachusetts.
See, you fucking asshole.
That's what it is.
Boston. There. See? There.
Ah, see. No, we all have our we all have our flaws. I'm saying
Yeah,
we
yeah,
all
I
have our
gotcha. I
things.
gotcha. I
And
gotcha.
yeah, that's one of those things. I don't know why. It's just since I was a kid, like fucking paper towels, skin, like it's I don't know.
Weird. Yeah, it's totally weird. I'm just kidding.
All
All
right.
right. So, like this movie, this conversation has gone in a lot of different directions and
Yeah,
just
you're
kind of
right.
all
It
over the
has.
place.
This is what
And
this movie does to you, ladies and gentlemen.
it culminates in an ending where, like, okay, here's everything that's happened so far. And somehow all these critters came out, and Don is like the last one
Killed everyone.
standing.
He's the last man standing. Yes, you're right.
Doug was like in the basement trying to restore the power with Dawn, and then like one of them critters got up on Doug, and Don was like swinging a hammer around and accidentally like
Kills Don.
caved in Don's head, and Don
To the
dies.
point
And
where my partner here had to reverse it. He had to
I
rewind it
missed
in
it.
order to
I
see
remember
it.
it because I was
No, but
laughing
this
so hard
movie,
like this that I came back and I was like, "Oh, what did I miss? Let me rewind that shit."
this
And then
movie
I,
is so jam packed with that shit. If you don't watch it for a split second, you don't even know what the fuck happened.
yeah.
But in all fairness, by the way, it was not disclosed. It was just like the whole pregnancy bit. It was like it was just an
Oh,
idea
you're
of
dead now.
right.
It's just in that
Oh,
vein.
and by the way, what happened to the guy who disappeared? He came back later on,
With here
a
again,
chainsaw in hand.
with zero explanation, none. Like not even an acknowledgement. It was just like he's just
Freddy,
back in a scene
not
with a
Freddy got
chainsaw.
fingered, but Freddy,
Find him, Freddy.
find him, Freddy,
Find him, Fred. Find him, Fred. Because
find him, Fred.
he got lost. So go find him. Cousin of Where's
Disappeared
Waldo.
in the third dimension somewhere. Came back.
Not
with
just
a
the
fucking
third, but the
chainsaw.
fourth and the fifth.
The fourth and the fifth. I just didn't want to drag it out that long. But you're right. By the fourth and fifth, he just came out of the woodworks and he's got another plug-in power tool because they didn't have batteries back then. So you had a plug-in drill and a plug-in chainsaw. Go figure. Ash would be very disappointed at you, poor souls.
Shop smart.
Shop as smart.
So, all right. So, Don's kind of last man standing. He kills everybody. Dr. Lucas shows up and is like, "Hey, you killed everybody. I think you're a murderer because look at all these blood and guts."
And not to drag anything
And like
out,
that's
but
like
can I
hold
ask
on.
you?
I'm not gonna toot my own. I don't tend to toot my own horn, but I am gonna say that's a pretty spot on impression of how that dude was doing his vocals, his audio, and which was like, "Oh my god, you're a murderer! I think I'm gonna call the police."
In any case, yes, he showed up out of the woodworks out of nowhere. Which by the way, I was like, "What the fuck?" He just shows up. And by the way, this is the second time
Hey,
I've
it's
seen this
me,
movie.
the guy that is responsible for
Boom!
everything that's been happening
I'm
today.
the subplot. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna just show up in the fucking middle of nowhere and, shit and show you what's up. And
Yeah.
then you're gonna die in that same room that she died in. Blah blah blah. Things deserves a rating system. We did it with Pumpkinhead. With
Sure.
pumpkins.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think we
Can
agreed.
we do sandwiches on this one?
Oh man, here's the thing. I wanted to go with
I don't mind. It doesn't matter.
sandwiches is a good one. That's a great call.
And that's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. See, I swear to God.
I thought of dippy birds.
Dippy birds.
Dippy birds.
Okay.
Do you know what dippy birds are?
No.
Dippy birds are those birds that dip down, get water from the cup, and come back up. You called it
birds.
You called it out in the movie where like there's multiple scenes where they just show the bird dipping down, getting water from the glass, and coming back up.
Did I? Oh yeah, that thing. Is that what they're called? Dippy birds.
They're called dippy birds.
Okay.
I looked it up while we were watching it because you're like, I don't even know what those things are called. And I was like, well, let me look it up. They're called dippy birds.
Tell me it doesn't remind you of like Darkman and shit like that.
I'm too far removed from Darkman to make an association.
Dude, that is like the biggest thing on Darkman. Right before his fucking laboratory gets blown up. Dude, that's another one we're going to do on this fucking show. You know, it deserves it. It was Ted Raimi film. It was low
Mutant
budget.
City Horror.
Mutant City
Episode
Horror.
4.
We're going to do
Darkman.
Darkman.
Duckman?
And you know what? I got it. No, not Duckman, but I feel like Duckman has a little bit of allegiance towards him. Strangely enough. But let's go as far as to say that. You know, I'm sorry, what were we saying?
Rating system. You said sandwiches. I said dippy birds.
Dippy Bird. I'll go with Dippy Birds. It's fine.
Okay. I give this movie 0 dippy birds because this movie was garbage and trash and horrible. And here's the thing.
My God.
Here's the thing. I
Dude,
am usually.
hold on. Revisit this for a second. They're really 0.
If it's not 0, it's 1.
Okay.
But only
no, I can accept that.
Only one strictly on your reaction to my 0. I'll give it a 1 if you think it deserves a 1.
Don't do it on my merit.
Okay, then I'm sticking with 0. I'm sticking with 0.
Deserves, then it's a 0.
It's a 0.
Of
here's
all
the thing.
in horror film history, I want to know why.
I'm about to tell you.
Yeah, that's why I'm listening.
So, I am a huge advocate of these types of movies, this level of professionalism or lack thereof, competency, acumen of making movies, budget, like, but there's a comedic aspect to my interest, right? So I will watch movies of this design sometimes just to be ironic, which is a very hipster thing of me to say.
No, it's not, dude.
Hold on. However, most of those movies that I put in that category have some level of story structure or plot. The editing might be bad, the acting is horrible, the sound is garbage, but like it follows a bit of a story. Where I feel like this one was just, it maybe in the first 5-10 minutes, arguably, was like, hey, this guy wants to have a baby with his wife, and then she dies, and then these things.
It goes crazy.
It just like I saw a thing come out of his wife, but there was really nothing to connect me to the fact that like all these other creatures are a spawn of her, and then like the 9-minute bathroom scene, and just like it was not good. And again, when we were done and we took our 15-minute break between watching the movie and starting our podcast, I was, with Perla, and I was like, that was the longest 1 hour and 24 minutes of my life. Seriously. Because even when we made our first pause, and I was like, dude, we're only 20 minutes in of a 1 hour and 24 minute movie. This is gonna fucking drag. And it did. And like, take the 9-minute bathroom scene as an example. I am so down to see like the lack of professionalism, or making fun of the audio, and hey, they fucked up there's a boom mic in the scene, or they said something or whatever. But like for as long as that bathroom scene was, I'm not saying it was exactly 9 minutes, but it felt like 9 minutes. And I don't know, it was rough. There was more times than not in the movie where I was like, where are we at? Like, how much time is left in this movie? Like, normally I would just kind of, chuckle at it and kind of move along because the story progresses. This one just didn't have that for me. So you combine it with all the other things of like the poor audio, the poor video, the poor editing, the poor everything. Yeah, it's a 0 for me, dog. Sorry.
No, it doesn't affect me one bit. And what it's just we're going to rating system anyway.
Tell
I
me
don't
how
put
much.
it that I don't put it that low. I'm
Okay,
gonna give
we're doing Dippy Birds, right?
what's that?
Dippy Birds are the thing we just talked about. The things
Oh
that
yeah,
come
yeah,
down.
yeah. Dipping birds. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
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 you,
how many Dippy Birds do you give it?
I'm sorry, I totally forgot about that.
It's good.
Dippy birds. I will give it 2.5.
Okay,
There. Let me justify a little bit.
with the half.
And it's really hard to say that. It's really, really hard to go that high. Um, if I were to believe that the filmmaker himself was going for an all standard low, I figure I fit the bill as far as film fanatics go. But I at any time I'm gonna say 2.5. That's what I said, right? 2.5.
Yep, you
Um,
did.
Look, I'm gonna say this. In my words, it takes balls to come up with any kind of movie. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be the shittiest film in the world. I always love anyone who is iconically involved with films that wants to make films. I don't see that here. I don't see a person who is like it's either do now or die hard type shit. Like this is my career. I believe they didn't try hard enough, but in the way of things, I will give it. What I say, 2.5.
One and a
Um,
half. You said
one,
no.
1.5.
You said 2.5. Sorry, sorry, sorry. 2.5 is what you said.
I'll give it a 2.
Oh, okay.
I'll give it a 2. We'll give it a 2. Are we going with sandwiches?
No, Dippy Birds. Fucking
Dipping
drunk
birds.
asshole.
Shut the fuck up.
Not dipping.
Here's one of my glasses. Fuck
Same.
you guys.
Not dipping. Dip Dippy.
Dippy
Dippy
birds.
bird. Dippy
So the
birds.
thing that clocked the death of fucking Darkman.
Sure. So you gave okay. So two
Two and a
Dippy
half.
birds.
Two and a
Okay.
half.
2 or 2.5, motherfucker. Because you started with 2 and then you said
Two.
2. So you said
Two.
2.5. Then
I'll
you
go
went
with
to.
2. I'll go with 2.
You're
My
a
bad.
fuck.
Hey, fuck you. I'm drinking wild turkey. God damn it.
What's the official answer?
2.
2.
2 Dippy
0.
birds.
0 plus 2
Oh man,
is.
I'm not gonna
Hold
I'm
on.
not gonna sleep well knowing that
I don't
you
give a
couldn't
shit.
get at least
Hold
a
on.
half.
No. So 0 plus.
This is part of what we're doing here, right? Yeah, I give it that much.
I don't understand how that
Do
equates to.
we or do we not love
So you're
shitty
saying.
horror?
So hold on. Yeah, I do.
I know you do because you
I
like fucking.
typically. I
By the
typically do.
way, audience, he loves Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I
Chopping
still don't
Mall is one of
understand.
my favorites.
I
Yes,
still don't understand. And he didn't know Dick Miller, which was on Chopping Mall.
dude. Tell your homie what I told you, which was
Did
I
you hear
do know
about that
Dick.
shit? Did I tell you about that?
You did tell me because we talked about this last night. Your homie was like,
He
"How
was
does he
like, he
not?
doesn't know
How
Dick
does he
Miller?
not know
What
who
the
Dick
fuck?
Miller is?" And what was my response? I do know who Dick Miller is. I didn't remember his name or his face, but I know who he is.
He's
There's
not
some
my
logic in this
homie,
number.
but dude, when I heard this guy talking about the Toxic Crusader, there's not a lot of us that know about this shit.
That's true, but I don't want to. Like, I don't want to go down a different alley. I want to finish. Hold on.
How
I
does your buddy
want to
not know who
finish.
Dick Miller is? No, go on.
Whatever.
My bad.
Whatever. I want to finish this thing on this thing.
Yeah.
You gave it. So here's the thing. So you're saying then moving forward, I can never give any movie a 0 rating? You're
No,
saying
it's just I'm very surprised that. And to be honest, I don't care. Whatever you want to give a 0, you give it a 0.
then
What
this one
I
gets a
a
0.
little bit like I am surprised.
Is it because you picked the movie? Do you feel like it's like a personal attack? Like
No, no,
you were the
no,
one who
no,
were
no,
like, "Hey,
not
let's
at
watch
all,
this movie,"
not at
and I
all,
was like,
not
"Hey,
at
this
all.
one's a goose egg
I
for
just
me."
thought for a little bit you could accept it for what it is, but it's not for everyone, and I will accept that.
Here's the thing: if I feel like if I didn't accept it for what it was, I would have pulled myself out of the situation.
You should see a lot of the shit I got on our list to do to view.
Okay,
I would
fair enough.
recommend. Okay,
There
you
needs
know
to be
what?
a little back and forth. Hold on.
No, no.
I think we
I
started
would
on.
say this. No, no, no. I will say this. Yeah, give it what you want, dude. What you believe in, it doesn't matter. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter at all. I asked you to this podcast for one reason only, is because you and I are both critics of movies. It doesn't matter where we lie or how we correspond with them. It's more about showing the demographic of the differences that we like about these films, right?
Okay, here's what I'm going to do for you then, because I do agree with that statement, and it correlates to what I just said or was trying to say, which is I have walked out of movies in the movie theaters before. I did not walk out of this movie. So if I'm looking at what's the movie? Contact is one of the movies that I walked out on.
That's a long fucking movie, dude.
That movie sucks.
Yeah, 4 hours with Jodie Foster. Who the fuck is not gonna watch?
If I walk, if okay, so if I think about what would I rate Contact, well, that would be a 0. Is that equivalent to Things? Well, no, because I didn't walk out of Things. I didn't feel like I had to stay in it for the purposes of the podcast. I feel like if I was over it, I would have been like, yeah, I'm done with this. Fuck this. I'm not going to watch the rest of this, which is how I landed with Contact. I walked out of that. So, okay, maybe to your point, if I'm walking out of a movie like Contact, that's something that deserves a 0. So if I didn't walk out on this, then maybe it deserves a, I don't know, a half or a
I
quarter.
think it
or
deserves something.
whatever the minimalist score is. We need to figure
A
out.
1.5.
Well, you did two. You started with 2.5. So if you're gonna have a half a point, then I want to assign this 0.5, a half a point.
All right.
You went 2.5. I'm gonna go. 0.5.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I believe
okay,
honestly,
cool.
like if you were to delve deep into it, I think you would see that. I'm pretty sure you would see that. Like I'm pretty sure.
So tell me again your official score. Is it 2 or is it 2.5?
Mine is 2.5.
Okay, so in that case, we should also establish boundaries. Are we doing?
Are we? How is that? Are we doing sandwiches or are we doing?
No. We're doing the Dippy Birds. Stop forgetting that we're doing Dippy Birds.
We're doing Dippy.
But I'm asking, as far as like the score goes, are we doing quarter points, which means 0.25? Are we doing half points, which means 0.50 or 1?
I think that's
where
you're mistaken, my friend. Okay, look, it's wherever you want to put it at. You remember?
Okay, cool.
Do you remember Pumpkinhead? What I call it 3.5.
So I got my no, you gave it like a 4. You rated it really high.
No. I didn't rate it too high. I think it was like 3.5.
Okay, so tell me again your official score for
this 2.5.
2.5. Okay. The score I'm gonna give it then is I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna go at quarters, and I'm gonna say point. We'll do halves. 0.50. I'm gonna give it half a point. So 2.5 for you plus my 0.5 for me is a total score of 3.0.
Not too bad.
3 Dippy Birds. And if we divide that amongst the two of us, that is a average score of 1.5 Dippy Birds. And that is where Mutant City Horror officially rates things and stuff.
And stuff. I want to personally thank those involved, those who are listening, and knowing that we're still starting this out, that we're still coming up with the concept of our design. I want to thank you for that as well. And yes, we have been drinking, and there may be slurring in our words, but you know what? Again, we are the American people. We love the scene of B-rated horror.
Yes, thank you. We are nothing without the people who listen to us, because it's kind of like the whole, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it.
That's a good one.
If a podcast gets created about low budget horror and no one's here to listen to it, does it really exist? So I'm loving the fact that we got some responses after episode 2, which were like, love it. This is great. Love the camaraderie between the hosts. Where's episode 3? When's that coming? I love that there's some enthusiasm behind that. And again, I don't see this being any indifferent from like any other conversation that you and I would have personally, that I would have with other people that are close to me. If you think I'm talking about you, then you are exactly right.
Because, yeah, man, we're gonna be calling you on one of our episodes.
And again, now that we've kind of somewhat, from a low budget perspective, figured out how to do this remotely, not opposed to having guests come in or whatever. So I know that there have been a couple people already who have hit me up directly. We're like, hey, when can I get in on an episode? Or let me know when the next one is. I would love to come in and sit in on that. So there's already, it's weird because I didn't think this thing would be as popular as it is, but there's already some buzz about it and people are talking about it. So good trajectory to be on.
And thank you guys for that, by the way.
Totally.
Thank you guys.
I apologize if this has gone longer than you want it to be, but again, when it's
never too long, guys.
Half a bottle of bourbon in, you tend to have many words. So
we love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Mutant City Horror. Remember, the nights are not as cold as they are when you got a bunch of mutants running rapid in the city. And my buddy Paul and I, when it comes down to it, we go running for that marquee. Whatever that marquee says, that's what we're all about. This is the Mutant City. This is horror. We love you all.
Good looking at it, dude. Till next time.